getting the glimpse of creating something that you have control over and started, but can get to a certain point that is so far from what you thought it would be,
Hmm.
that is something that, to me, allows you to be able to understand much more
Hmm.
than you
I,
don't
I love
understand.
I love what you just said.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
Uh, there's already a couple people in there. Good to see all you
Neat.
guys. It is Craig and Walt, with our newest show, our new show, Web of Facts. It is our second show. Good to see you, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. It's good to see you. How are you?
Good, good. And if you guys haven't noticed, we both have smiles on our face because we have been talking since the last time we did a show. And it turns out that I'm quite fond of Walt, and I think he might be the same because we have a whole lot in common, and I think we dig doing the show. What do you think?
I love it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of ground we still haven't covered yet. Every time we start to talk, it explodes into a giant conversation, and I can't wait to see where we go today.
I named the now I'm gonna preface myself before I talk about everything, but racial bias and algorithms, a historical perspective. I think you don't mind me saying, but you kind of intimated that, whoa, Craig, are we gonna go into this deep racial kind of thing and AI stuff? Is that a fair statement?
I mean, I'm not afraid to go into any territory. It's just who I am. I don't want to step on any landmines, and I certainly don't intend to. Who knows what's going to come out of my mouth? I'm going to be as truthful and honest as I can be. I'm here to learn too. So I always approach things with that learner mindset. So while I might share a lot of ideas and some expertise, I don't know everything and I don't claim to.
Hey man, well, and I think the cool thing about having met you and you being so knowledgeable in the areas that you are, and I'm going to describe them as obviously AI type stuff. You were a teacher in the past, scientific. I have a scientific background as well. I worked in the clinical laboratory, so sometimes the things that we talk about, it's kind of like a give and take with regards to the things that I know that you know, and I can bounce a question off, and you're right there with me, but it's kind of a pure interaction that kind of makes it cool to discover these things together because you may not have thought about some of the things I've just introduced you recently with regards to Black History Month, AI, those kind of things. But then when I brought them to you, it was like, okay, I can dig that. In fact, can I tell what happened this morning when we talked?
Yeah, of course. Of
Okay.
course.
So, and it remains to be seen whether we're going to be able to introduce this individual. Let's just say that his name is, well, I think it's Tyrone, actually with an M instead of an N,
It is.
right?
Right.
So I see this name, the email that you sent. We might get this guy on the show, and I said, "Could you have gotten a Jamal or a Malcolm or whatever? We got Tyrone." And you, at first, you paused, but then you kind of got where I was going, right?
You had a joke there, and I was not ready for that. You caught me off guard. And I was like, "Is it appropriate for me to laugh about this? I don't even know."
You treated the things that I haven't known with velvet gloves, and so I appreciate it. And on some level, me being a black person, it kind of caught my attention. So we'll lay down the groundwork for what we're going to go into. We go through this. Describe to us what an algorithm is.
An algorithm is really just a set of procedures. It's basically what you've been trained to do. You could say a dance with dance moves that have been choreographed is an algorithm. Essentially, when you're talking about an algorithm in a computer terms, what you're talking about is the way the system is designed to react to input and then how it returns output. I've heard the term algorithm applied to social media.
Mhm.
So the algorithm in that case is where you put your mouse, where you click, what's the topic. There's the
Ah.
metadata about that. Some of the algorithms are listening to the words that you say on your smartphone. And when you say shopping for a queen size mattress, all of a sudden the next 3 days you're going to have queen size mattresses showing up on your Facebook.
Like you were describing, when we talk about, like, for example, I will say to the audience, if you haven't already, drop a comment, share with somebody if you know the content. We say because it helps the algorithm. So
Right.
I think the perspective that I've had that we're just talking about kind of stroking the system, if you will, of what
That's it.
YouTube, yeah,
Yeah.
stroking the system because it's expecting when you have a good product that people will do X things. And when you
Correct.
do those things, then they try to make it so that other people will do the same thing, meaning that you have a person who a video that's been watched more and more often. Before we even get to race being involved at all, there is a certain amount of data that is collected
Hmm.
because of the algorithm that the system already has, right? So let's talk about then about where bias comes into that kind of equation.
When you're talking about the types of data that get collected in algorithms, every single software is a little different, right?
Mhm.
So when you're talking about facial recognition, that's based on training. When you're talking about social media, you're talking about demographics and psychographics and a whole bunch of other types of graphics that we're not even going to get into. What happens is you can categorize things by traits. At the at the bare basis bottom of what we're talking about is categorization.
Okay.
And I don't know, you have to kind of understand a little bit about data and maybe databases. And but if you're familiar with Excel spreadsheets, you know how you can make columns on an
Yeah.
Excel spreadsheet.
Mhm.
And this column represents first name, the second one is last name, and the third one is, and you go through all these different things that are joined together and related to each other. So what these algorithms often do, and some of them are very specific, some of them are very vague, but they are categorizing interactions and joining them to IP addresses, and then other times they can connect those to an individual, and then what they call PII, personal information. What happens is that all these digital things are getting your signature. It's kind of like a digital thumbprint or fingerprints. Okay.
Okay.
And it's going into these gigantic databases. And the thing that is most incredible about this is the amount of data that we give off. Like, you walk outside and you look around, and you say, okay, there's a dog and there's a cat, but you don't just say it's a dog, it's a cat. You recognize the cat as Bruno or Tigress or whatever, and that's more information about it. And then you could say, oh, that's a tabby or that's a Siamese cat.
Sure.
And all these little categorizations end up becoming a thumbprint, a digital thumbprint.
Now, you talked about just now about how we interact with all of those things. Now, the
Mhm.
way that AI interacts is a little bit different, right?
Can be, but it can be the same.
Well, because okay, so that's the interesting part, and I know that you know that my dilemma in my mind is kind of recognizing the way AI learns is kind of based on a network with the brain, the way the brain
Yeah.
works.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm gonna summarize it very simple, and this works in both the human brain, the animal brain, the anything that's got neurons, and this applies to computers, even though they're not neurons the way we have neurons, but they are digital neurons.
of late, China has been in the news. Is it called DeepSeek? I think that's the what
It
one
is,
of
yeah.
one of the things I'm just mentioning it. In
Mhm.
China, for example, they have this social thing going on where, if you wanna get onto the internet,
Yeah.
agree to using your face and biometrics and
Mhm.
those kind of things.
Right,
Whereas so that's a social thing to keep them in line, whereas
right.
in America, it's all about money.
There's a lot of complexity to what you just touched on. Okay, with
Okay,
the deep seek, the China, the algorithms, the facial recognition. The difference between the way that the West, meaning the United States and most of Europe, looks at the whole entire AI race versus the way that the Chinese culture looks at their entire culture is very different. Part of the philosophical difference between what's going on in the China version of AI and the American version of AI, some of it has to do with politics. Some of it has to do with power. Some of it has to do with economics. Some of it has to do with the way we're spinning it and the way we contextualize the whole situation. All
okay,
of a sudden, DeepSeek gets released, and it's performing better in a lot of different races, if you want to call them
okay. And we're
competitions.
talking
Okay.
about a Go Speed Racer race, right? Versus,
Right, right, right.
what's this one?
How
Okay,
fast it calculated math, how
gotcha.
quick did it come back with a solution, how usable was the software it generated. There's all kinds of little games and tests they put it through. Let's call it the AI Olympics. Okay, they showed every single step in their recipe.
And at a significantly, cheaper
Yes.
price, my I understand, right?
Figured out a way to do it with CPUs, not GPUs. This is the only thing that I fear. When power sets its sights on you, there's not much you can do to hide.
When we talk about the bias of things,
Hmm.
the people who are in charge of creating,
Hmm.
maybe not even not aware that they were doing it,
Right.
have input those biases into the equation,
Sure.
no?
100%. Inadvertently.
Yeah, and I think I shared this with you, but, there is a story. It's the Coded Bias movie on Netflix now, the Park City Sundance Film Festival. This film was an entry into, the Sundance Film Festival, and in fact, when it went to office, made very little money. We're talking like $10,000. Then it hit Netflix, and it has some powerful things, and there's a young lady in there. I'm
Mm.
gonna show a little part of it. She went to MIT. She wanted to create kind of like a mirror experience where she could replace her face
Mm.
with Oprah Winfrey, or I think in the movie it shows her with Serena Williams on top. She had a problem, and you're smiling because I think you might know what I'm talking about. It didn't the AI did not recognize her face. Now I don't know why she put a white mask on, but it recognizes
Mm.
her, or it recognized that, but not her face. Let's talk about why you think that could even happen.
Until just very recently, when Apple introduced some sort of filters, a lot of the photography that I would take without any racist bias
Mhm.
made the black people disappear. That's just an unfortunate technical glitch. Okay.
Mm.
Now, Apple was able to be smart enough to go into their system and recognize algorithms that could be tweaked and changed and modified. I don't think that anybody set out to design a camera that was going to be racist.
If you and I had a business,
Right.
knowing that there are far more white people than there are black people, and you
Right.
could get something to work on the majority of people, and even
Mhm.
if you knew about a slight problem,
I know where you're going.
the money of it all probably dictates that even if you discovered it early on in the process, that you had something that was working so
Mhm.
well with everybody else, why fix
Sure.
it now? It wasn't by design that they were like, we're gonna make
Sure.
black people
Sure.
not be able to disappear. But like
Right.
this young lady innocently discovering this, then she
Right.
began digging deeper. Maybe there are more biases that aren't just data related, that are kind of ingrained into the way people think.
100%. And
Yeah.
here's some a little spin I'd like to throw in there. I don't throw a lot of spin in there,
Okay.
but I do love the phrase that people say, in the problem is the opportunity. More good solutions and more really bountiful things have showed up in my life, not by trying to run away or avoid problems, but actually leaning into them carefully. So if you
Okay.
go in looking for problems, I guarantee you're going to find them. And
Or
it
they
does,
will find you.
or you will create them in the process of looking for them.
Exactly. Have you ever heard of the term systemic
Oh
racism?
yeah.
I know that there are people that will say, if there's not a law codified and this and that, then there's no way that you can say that racism exists. But I believe on some level that there
Mhm.
are things that have happened in the past, albeit in the past, that
Sure.
the effect, even though it wasn't intentional, is still lasting.
Of course,
And so
correct. Sure.
so some of those lessons that we have AI learn from
Mhm.
creates other problems, and until we are aware of it, just continues to go on. So I think
Sure.
it is very important that you have the perspective of cultural perspectives and that otherwise would not be input into the learning process that AI goes through.
When you train an AI, it basically creates its own internal algorithm, what they're called super weights. Okay. Super weights are certain training amounts and certain training sources that when the AI has been trained on it, it actually gives it the ability to train itself further. That's what DeepSeek actually did. But what I'm saying is, when you train things with all kinds of exceptions, and everything that doesn't have a consistent rule. Like mathematics is perfect in every direction. In all
Mhm.
360 directions, it's always consistent. But language is absolutely inconsistent. And when you talk about English, it's the most inconsistent. It has every exception you can imagine. So there are certain ways that you can train things that are much more consistent than other ways. Systemic racism is a training set that is based upon inconsistencies.
Mm,
It is
okay.
not it is not a de facto situation that all people should treat each other differently and have hierarchy based on their skin color. That is not math.
Yeah, it doesn't that doesn't compute.
That doesn't compute.
I am learning by making my AI learn to do a process for me what's going on. But like I was trying to intimate before, the scalability of it
Hmm.
all, it can happen so fast
Right.
that all of these things that are bias related pile up upon each other and it looks so bad in the
Mm.
end, right?
Right now, AI is a force multiplier. So whatever you put into it, you're going to get tenfold, 50-fold, 100-fold results. I don't want the biases that might already be in there. This tool doesn't know what color you are unless you have a camera and you're talking to it from your skin. I think I would be remiss in doing a disservice to the Black community or any community in the world to say, hey, AI is biased, don't mess with that. Because the truth is that AI can take your ideas and turn them into a business and turn them into income faster than anything else that's out there. YouTube is great, AI is better.
And
Google is
the
great. Yeah,
infrastructure is already there, right?
yes,
It's not like we
yes,
have to expend too much more energy to allow
no,
anybody to get in there and start doing things,
right.
and why not Black people?
Even if
Since
you
you
can't read, even if you can't write, okay, you can talk
mm,
to it. If you got a phone that's got a voice recognition, you can speak to it. So don't even, I mean, even the people that can't write or type still have this ability.
there we go.
I had this unusual opportunity to travel 4 hours to meet with a client the other day. And I went and I met with them. I met with the manager and his supervisor. In the middle of the presentation, radio goes off. They got to leave. Everybody's got to split. Thought to myself, well, you know what? I'm going to collect my thoughts in a prompt. I'm going to sit down and type it into the computer. And I write up this whole prompt. Then I hit run. It goes through, it took my prompt, took all of my ideas and all of their suggestions, and gave me a working prototype within 3 minutes or less. They're blown away. The supervisor, kind of gets my attention. Says like, "Hey, we want your system. Send us the invoice." As I'm leaving, he's like, "Hey, we're probably going to use you for other stuff too."
Think about this, Tuskegee project, all kinds of different projects where you will see people
Mm,
or have situations happen to them that would cause them to be fearful of a process that they are not
yeah,
involved with,
right.
particularly if they're not involved with the making of it. So
Yes.
so I think it is absolutely prudent that
Hmm.
all peoples of all colors, of all religions, of all races get in and help AI learn.
I feel the same way, and I fear people more than I fear AI. AI is being trained on pure neurons, meaning that the information that it comes in contact with, it's got to learn from. Okay. It's not trying to protect its ego, it's not trying to protect its tribe, it's not trying to have self preservation. It is simply trying to become wise and smart and intelligent.
Mm,
I believe in intelligence, I believe in wisdom, I believe in knowledge. And I think that in and of itself, if that's truly the direction that AI is going in, we're all going to be okay. One caveat: people do control AI.
mhm.
I control it when I put a prompt in it. People
Yeah.
control it when they train it a certain way. Could they train it to be harmful? Absolutely. That's why I fear the people, not the AI. The technology is a hammer, it's a tool. It can be used for whatever you want to do with it.
Now, we started where we started. What's the name? What's that Drake song? Is it a Drake song? We started where we started, now we
Now we're
whatever.
here. Yeah, we started on the bottom. Now we're here. AI will have its own brain soon. It will have its own, whatever you want to call it, agency. It's going to have its own agency.
Call it what you will, a higher power, God,
Mm,
whatever. That entity that has created everything. On some level, I think that getting the glimpse of creating something that you have control over and started, but can get to a certain point that is so far from what you thought it would be,
mhm.
that is something that to me allows you to be able to understand much more than you don't understand.
I love what you just said. Okay. First of all, I want to answer that with this sentence. Okay. Man was created in the image of God.
Sure.
And then the second part, AI was created in the image of man. Okay. That's
Mm,
truly the case. All right.
And you
So,
you talked about that,
mm,
the body parts. I mean, not a whole lot, but maybe we can get into it
we
for
we will
sure,
get
but go
into
ahead.
that, and I think
Mm,
we should also get into the fact that there are certain things that work and certain things that don't. Okay,
mhm,
that is the language of God. Okay, genetics over the course of millennia,
mhm,
certain things work and certain things don't. Dinosaurs died off; they didn't work. They showed up for
mm,
a time. They had their time. They didn't make it. Okay, that process is the hand of God whittling out what works and what doesn't. You may
yeah.
call it man; it might be in the hands of man, but let's be honest. There is nothing outside of the will of the Creator.
And what to what end would it be if God created us, in the in His image in order to praise and serve Him, and then we create something that would abolish us all, and it still remain? Well, I mean, He said in the Bible, it says that He would have the rocks cry out to Him.
Mm. Isn't that interesting? Minerals. What are computers made out of?
Oh my
The
god.
minerals. I don't know. Right? Right?
Oh,
Boom.
wait, yeah, do your, oh my god.
Woo!
Did we just say that on this show, Web of
Of
Facts? Oh
course.
my
Yes,
god.
we did.
He said, and I'm talking about, Tyram, I think
Mhm.
he said data, energy, algorithm, and
That's why I want him so
s
bad on the show.
oh, dude, I mean, you just teased me with having me. It was a little snippet, and I started searching. I found
Yeah.
his podcast,
Yep.
it's called, What Pays, which stands for What Problem Are You Solving?
Hmm.
Dude, it's so clever. Like you said,
He's
I mean,
awesome. I want the guy on this show, man. We
oh
should have
my
spent more time talking about him.
I kinda slipped in the racial portion of bias
Okay.
in algorithms with the hopes that we could bring it to a point that we really weren't even talking about that, just acknowledging that it's possible that it exists, and that
Hmm.
in and of itself, the problem still lies a solution. We've begun solving some problems that I think are gonna go some cool places. What about you?
The conversation needs to move away from where it's been. There
Mhm,
needs to be some open-mindedness, some considering of ideas that are not from your own box, your own toolbox. I
mhm,
think we get stuck in our little echo chambers, people call it,
yeah.
and you need to bring in perspectives from other sides and not just immediately just shoot them down.
You've seen me do this portion right here, and I say something to the effect of whether you be on the right side, the left side, if we insist on being on the opposite ends and don't meet someone here, we are never going to find something where we can agree upon. Now, you and I have gotten there. I think we can probably bring a lot more people together here. We're doing it on this show. It's a new show. It's called
Yeah.
Web of Facts. My name is Craig, otherwise known as Fact the Madness. I'm with Walt, my friend now, my brother in arms, so to speak. Thank you all for those of you who came and stopped by, showed us the support, and we just continue to do better and make it happen until next time. Thank you for watching. If you have a video you'd like for us to cover, use the submit link in the description or pinned comment. If you enjoyed this one, consider subscribing and hit the bell to be notified of future content. Be sure to check out all of the other content we have for your edutainment. We will continue to respectfully exercise our First Amendment rights and publish the interactions we have with government officials. Remember to like, share, and leave a comment. It's the easiest way for you to let us know your thoughts about our channel.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh.